Weekly Scrap number 203. My guest tonight is none other than DJ Stone, aka the other brother. He has been in the emergency services for 24 years, 22 at the city of Fort Walton Beach Fire Department. He recently accepted a brand new position as a training chief at South Walton Fire District. Second generation firefighter, Stone has spent a career working everything from dense suburban to ultra rural. He teaches, he instructs. He and his brother teach the program Anatomy of the Rescue at FDIC. He has recently revamped the program to single-person presentation called the Grab Analysis, a class evaluating several video captured grabs in the 850 area code of Florida. DJ also co-manages with his brother the Facebook training page 850 Fireman, 850 Fireman, a training page that promotes fire culture in the panhandle of Florida and the Southeast. Family man, God-serving man, and a fireman. DJ Stone, it is my honor and pleasure to have you on as the guest of Weekly Scrap number 203. Welcome, my brother.
Thank you very much for a nobody suburban guy from nowhere after Kurt and Lombardo.
Hey, congratulations.
Which were awesome, by the way. Yeah, guys, two legends, man. Two icons in the business. I'm stoked to be here.
Batting cleanup, man. That's what it's called.
Exactly. That's right.
Is there anything?
I'm the other brother.
Anything I missed in the introduction?
No, man. Just a lot going on in life right now. Nothing in the introduction you missed. I'm sure we'll catch up on a few of the details here shortly, but yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind these last 3 weeks for sure.
Now, technically, you are not this is not your first time on the Scrap because you were on in North Florida Fire Expo a few years ago.
Yes. I think that was the first time we met.
Right.
Me, you, Nick, and then another panel of people. Yeah. That was, I think, maybe
Duffy
the infancy days.
Yes.
Of the
Scrap.
Scrap.
It was very early, very early.
Yes.
So you are an OG. Technically, you're an OG, although you've never been a single guest. So this is your first single guest. I love it.
Well, I appreciate it.
Kyle is in the chat. So everybody, if you're out there, get your questions primed and ready for DJ. Throw them at Kyle. He will find the best questions. He will throw them at us, and we will get them to DJ, and we will get them answered. So do not be afraid to throw your questions out there. If you want to be a part of the Vigilantes, man, the Vigilantes are the people that decide the direction of the Scrap. So it's the Cool Kids Club. That's what I call it. Go to firehousevigilance.com and sign up so you can be a part of it. The one thing we're doing lately is the after party. When the Scrap is over, we invite the guest. So far, none of them have refused, so no pressure. But they get to come and hang out for 20 minutes. It says 20-minute after party, and then we kind of critique your Scrap and talk to you about it. So anyway, you'll be invited at the end. That's that. Last week's, yeah, okay, so there we go. On to the sponsors. The OG sponsor of the Scrap, Key Hose. I already saw Joey Hayes in here talking and commenting. So the OG sponsor of the Scrap, Key Hose, check them out online at keyhose.com. Follow them on Facebook. Affordable Drill Towers, home of the Affordable Drill Tower and the Affordable Standpipe Prop. Firefighter owned and operated, pump and roll using the Affordable Standpipe Prop. The Affordable Standpipe Prop, it fits through most classroom doorways for standpipe theory, and then you can roll it into the parking lot and pump it. Comes with 6 standpipe valves that can be upgraded to PRVs or customized to what you have in your jurisdiction. Call Steve, 844-55-TOWER, or drop an email to info@affordabledrilltowers.com. And then my man, also out of Florida now, relocated to Florida, First Line Fire Service Training, Dennis Riley. It is veteran owned and operated. First Line Fire Service Training. There you go.
You like that?
I like that.
Yeah, boy.
That goes right with it, man.
Yeah.
I lost my place. Find them on Facebook. First Line Fire Service Training. No, it's beautiful. He has been around the block. He is the shark out there swimming, ready to get dinner. So absolutely. And I love Flame Decon always. Get yourself some black soap. Get rid of the carcinogens. Decon effectively, man. Get some badass soap at flamedecon.com. So there we go. One thing I wanted to throw in before we technically got to it, I don't know if you know a person named Jim Allen, but he contacted me today, and he said, DJ Stone is a good friend of mine. I would greatly appreciate it if tonight on the show you would tell him how much of a mentor he is. Also, if my kids grew up to enter the fire service and they were half the firemen that he is, I'd be extremely thankful. And finally, he says the same goes for them growing up to be the type of human being he is. So I wanted to say that to you because when people go out of their way to do that kind of thing, it really means a lot to me and to the guests. So I would say, yeah.
That's very generous. Jim Allen, for those that don't know, is one of the many, many veteran fire officers of Escambia County, Florida, which hands down, it's well known. Kurt being the representative for this, they go to more jobs than anyone from probably the Florida state line to Jacksonville, no doubt. He's one of the best. Jim is just an outstanding person and a great friend. And I really do appreciate that. And for the record, I do want to say that my name is DJ Stone. And I too like to go to trailer fires. That's Jim saying, by the way. And I echo that every day because we go to a lot of trailer fires here in the Panhandle of Florida.
Love it. I love it. Okay. I'm going to read you a few comments before we get going, just to get the audience. Josh Vargason said, "Where's the stash?" 4 question marks. James Michelisco said, "Freaking amp truck work is my jam." Shannon Stone says, "Hell yeah, that's my little bro." Great thing to watch while packing. Let's go, from Aaron Olson. I'm glad we can be there for you while you're packing. There we go. Excuse me. All right. There's questions coming in. But I'm going to kick it off with, do you want, I'll throw it to you. This is the most comprehensive list of topics to talk about I've ever received. I would say I've done 202 scraps before this point, and it is a comprehensive list. It's the longest list I've ever compiled, and it's awesome. I love it. I think we're going to get to like 3 of them because that's typically the way the scrap goes. So what I want to ask you first is, do you want to start with the first topic you sent me, or do you want to start with your first audience question? It's dealer's choice.
I mean, we could just start with the topic.
Okay.
I sent you if you want, which pull from the pile. So I too, like a lot of the other listeners out here, I watch a lot of your podcasts. And one of the questions I ask myself is, why are you asking me to come talk about something someone else has probably talked about? So I sent you that list in hopes that maybe it's brushing up against something that hasn't already been talked about or talked through at this particular point in 200 plus episode history.
And I'll say this because it's crazy. And I think I texted you something along this lines, is every single guest says something along the same lines. It blows my mind, the humility of the people, that come on, because every one of them, I don't care who it is, says, "Man, why would anybody want to hear what I have to say?" And it really does, because it's awesome. That's why that hype video we just played explains why it's awesome. But absolutely. So tactical. We'll start with tactical. I'll start at the top of the list. Tactical. Masking up or masked up. What did you mean by that topic? And I'll let you deep dive as much as you want to go.
I don't know that it's a deep dive as much as it is just an opinion and an epiphany. Since I would say that call, I mean, I could say throughout my career, it's forming an opinion, but it really came to light when I went over to Texas to share my program, specifically in the Houston area. I think we can agree it's kind of been a trend in the fire service, along with search, just being ready to turn out quickly, ready to go on air quickly. And the one thing I do critique, by the way, the grab analysis is based off my experience and a few other calls. Critiquing myself, my mask up time was absolutely horrendous. It just really is. It's embarrassing, but you don't know what you don't know, right? And sometimes you don't think it's going to happen to you. And since then, it's not a matter of if, it's when. The intense call in whatever form is going to happen. It may not be a grab that's captured on video. Maybe it's a medical call, an intense medical call, and you're a paramedic firefighter or a pin job or something along those lines. So with all that being said, I noted the terrible time that I thought at the time, man, that was a pretty good mask up. It really was not a good mask up. So in light of that, digging a little deeper into that topic, and in my previous job, I was a battalion chief for the last 3 years. I challenged my company after, it's actually a call that's included in this new program. So if I teach it, all you guys out there, girls, come check it out. It's a call that happened here in Navarre, Florida, where it's intense. And a guy basically made a grab of a toddler in 8 seconds. And so the point of sharing that story is to say that regionally, right here in Navarre, Florida, and in Midway, where my brother works as the operations assistant chief there, they had been regionally working on their mask up times right before this call happened. And their mask up goals, if I remember correctly, around the 20-second mark or better. His department average, I believe, is around 15 seconds, which is pretty great, for a department average.
For an average,
and
absolutely.
So, yeah, that inspired me to come back to my department and see what I could do with that. And it just challenged me personally. I need to mask up faster, right? Fast forward to kind of working through that the last year or so in my job, and then going out to Texas to share the program. And I had epiphany because I went to the Woodlands, which is like spring Woodlands, all suburb of Houston. There's a lot of Houston guys that work those departments, not Woodlands, but spring part-time, et cetera. John Naniga being one of them. And they told me basically, I was talked about mask up times. We need to get quicker, blah, blah, blah. This is something you can work on yourself every single day when you come in. This is your responsibility to be good at it as a firefighter. No one needs to prompt you to do that. And they basically said, man, that's not a problem with us. We're masked up in the rig before we get off the truck. And I know my whole career, there's been this debate of masking up or not masking up. And I've come to the conclusion, in the great words of John Norman, it depends. It depends. You ask him things, he says, well, you know what, it depends. One of the smartest minds in the business, he says it depends. So it resonated with me, and I said, okay, well, it depends. Well, the question that I ask a lot of times when it comes to change is sometimes we don't need to ask why, we need to ask why not. So in relation to this hypothetical, my call, I'm turning out, it's 1:30 in the morning. I have a confirmed entrapment. I know I have a working fire, and I know I'm going to be first due. I know it before I don't have to see it. So the question to myself is, why not? Why would I not go ahead and get my mask on? Why would I not go ahead and get ready to do the one thing? Because frankly, it's really simple. The business ain't simple, but the initial action should be simple. We're doing one of two things. We're going for rescue, or we're going to extinguishment. Both of them, you need to be on air. So in relation to that sort of thought process, my question now was, why wouldn't we do that? If we are hitting this for them mantra, right? The fire service is big for them on every level. Well, how much more for them when we come off the truck ready to go to work? I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying that's the conclusion that I've came to in my career. And I think the payoff is getting to work faster, getting to assignment faster. Now, you come second or third due, and you're, or you don't have intel. Really, a lot of things that we do on this job, masking up being one of them, is intel driven. The fire service, and I say this in my presentation, you and my brother talk about this all the time, which my brother is one of my biggest mentors, by the way. I love you, bro. I am not who I am without my brother. So
he is one of my biggest mentors. About this. I mean that. So
for sure. He's, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but he's helped me avoid a lot of pitfalls, a lot in my job. So of course we have discussions often about tactics and strategies and et cetera. And we agree that the fire service really wants a black and white answer, especially the lesser experienced suburban fire service or newer organizations looking to grow. They're like, man, just give me that answer. Man, give me that one thing that I could take that can apply every time so I could take more thought process out of it. And the reality is we don't work in a black and white service. When it comes to most emergencies, we're blending the two. It depends. It's well, if this, then that. So I like to say we have to be experts in the gray. Some things we can be black, some things we can be white, but really the strive throughout a career is to be adaptable enough to operate at maximum capacity in the gray areas of the job.
Love it.
So in light of all that, rounding back to the mask thing, why wouldn't you be masked up now in light of that? You have a working job. You turn the block. Hey, I see a header. And here's the thing I always ask people. Do you mask up at a car fire? You know what they say? Oh, of course we do. Right. Okay, so what's different about a house fire? And then all of a sudden, these excuses come out. I'm not saying they're wrong. What I'm saying is you have limited scope of things you're going to do. You're going to put the fire out. You're going to initiate search. It's not rocket science. don't overcomplicate things. If you get off and you're limited staffing, the best thing we could do is stretch a line, get to the door, and either get inside or get to the closest point where fire is showing to kind of buy us some time to get inside and to finish our job. So in light of all that, it's a long answer to a short question. I'm a huge advocate now of masking up. And when I have friends that work in Houston Fire, that work in departments and stations that go to way more fires than I ever do, and they're advocating for it, I tend to listen to those people.
Right.
You know, I've spent the career and I've been super lucky to, one, live where I'm at. The 850 is a kind of a unique area, 850 meaning like from Pensacola to Tallahassee.
Right.
And then having Kurt Isaacson in the backyard, and then all the people in the mines he brings right here to my backyard. And then being actual friends with Kurt, growing up with Kurt, helping Kurt, and getting to be able to be mentored by these people, which most of them probably don't even know they mentor me. But you know how it is.
No, absolutely.
We spent a career of kind of going after this information. And so there's a huge benefit to us to listen to these guys who do a lot of it. And for me, I'm very lucky to have a lot of really good friends in the Escambia County Fire Department. You know, and I'm proud to say that is probably hands down produced some of the best officers that I've worked with. I did a couple years part-time over there. Nice. I had the pleasure of working with people like Jim Allen, like Joel Richardson, like Scott Averill, like Kurt Isaacson, you know, Adam Bobby, a lot of these veteran guys, man. And so what that veteran thing comes from is it's called experience. Right. So where I may not get it, I affiliate and I listen. So when these dudes say, hey, you should think about this, I really think about it. Some I apply, maybe some I don't. But this one, to me, depending on the intel coming in, it's kind of a no-brainer, isn't it?
Well, I will say this. This is the one thing, because I always struggle with this one, because, you know, I've seen, you know, the people, Kyle, of course, is here grabbing the questions, and he comes off the rig, you know, with the mask up time, 0 seconds. You know what I'm saying? And
that's right.
And it's awesome. Don't get me wrong. But one thing I always struggled with, because I didn't understand it, is I'm like, how the hell do these people see? Because, and I realized it really does come down to sometimes equipment dependent, because one thing Kyle even said in the chat here, someone asked a question, doesn't it garble your communication? And Kyle said, no, you got a giant hole in your mask. And that's when I realized the difference. I wear a Survivor, and I will say, for straight up, it's a piece of garbage. And I'll say that over and over and over. So,
but the pack's light, so that's cool.
For what it's worth. But you absolutely, if you come off with the mask, you get like 3 breaths with it, and it's fogged up, period. I don't care how much dish soap you put on it, because you're lucky if the exhaust valves work on it. But not the point. It really is, because I always struggle with that, because it makes so much sense. But with the equipment we have, man, it's not an option if you're going to be trying to breathe for any length of time before clicking in.
Sure. I'm not saying that.
No, I just want to make guess says some people do struggle with, why can't we do that? And then, but
and I'm not some veteran guy trying to tell you like this is the thing that works, but it depends, right? It depends. What's your intel? Yeah. What is your intel? What urgency is there to accomplish whatever the task is, and does it include air? And frankly, the next question you would ask yourself is, well, am I burning that much air from the rig door to the front door? Oh, I haven't forgot about the 360. I get it. We got to do a 360. More like a 3-sided look, probably in most people's cases. And that 360 even depends on where you work. I'm in the South. Ranch homes is, you know, job du jour, man. Like ranch homes and trailers, that's what we do. Right. Now, the new district I'm working in, I could be attached onto a trailer fire, or I could be attached to a house on the beach that's 10,000 square feet and $20 million. So it's a huge variety, and I understand that. That's why we have to be adaptable. Right. We have to be able to read the situation and you know, apply our experiences and training to whatever we encounter. Hopefully make the right decision.
No, I love it. I love it. All right. First question coming at you from the audience. I got 3 to choose from right here. That Kyle, I'm going to go with Jim Allen, because I like it, because it kind of segues off what we were just talking about. Please ask DJ the following: was there any doctrine that you had always followed that you realized was ineffective and you changed due to what you learned after the grabs you have made?
a lot of doctrines, I think, when we come in. And I would say doctrines or beliefs. So let me premise what I'm going to say with this. And I don't feel like I've been on the business, like on the job long at all. I don't know if you feel that way, Corley, but
No,
I
I
feel
feel
like
like a young man. I'm like,
I just
damn it, I'm
started.
not an old guy. I'm so young right now.
Yeah, I know. But looking back, I'll say this, the internet has changed everything. So when I came on, not that it was that long ago, but it seems like it was yesterday, the information I had in my hands was VHS tapes, DVDs, magazines, and senior man advice, women, whatever, firefighter, right? Senior member. And a lot of that senior member advice was based off of their experiences. And I would say, let's say one of them is, you don't open the nozzle until you get to see the fire.
Right.
Well, has that not drastically changed in the last
Oh
10
yeah.
years
Oh yeah.
because of what we know? And the NIST studies and all that stuff, the UL work has been tremendous on how we approach jobs. And it's really challenged a lot of philosophies, and it's validated a lot of philosophies, as Ray McCormick has also demonstrated. When we first went to the hit it hard from the yard always, to he was one of the people over here saying, well, hold on a second, you studied one side, let's look at the other. Now it's validated, right? The science is kind of leveling the game out. So with all that being said, I think one of them was one of those, don't put water on smoke things.
Right.
The early on in my
Don't
career,
flow. Don't flow. You'll steam burn everything.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It was it's simply not true. Well, I guess it is if you're a fog nozzle guy on 35 fog
Power
fight
cone.
pattern or whatever they
Still
call
hitting
it.
the power cone. Yeah.
If you're a power cone guy, yeah, maybe you're going to get hurt. But the point is, like, that's something that has certainly changed. I think the power, and this is something like Kurt and my brother have really just what's the word, like, they've really instilled a confidence in the nozzle that we carry, in the flows that we're flowing. So I've been very lucky to come into an organization that we paid attention to that very early on. I never had to battle 35 fog pattern, have to battle any of that. My whole career has been straight stream and solid bore. So in light of that, both of those have been starting off at the 180 to 200 GPM range on a hand line, back down to 160 manageable hand line. Point is, all that to say, I understand the power of the nozzle, and depending on the situation, my general rule, 3 to 4 windows of fire, it's a hand line all day long. You're not pulling the 2.5 unless it's something really large. Large is a relative term to a lot of people. All that to say that understanding that power of the nozzle has increased my confidence, even though my department that I worked in over the last few years and the one I'm going to is not running fires every day. But you know what? Do we need to run? I'm going to ask you, do we need to run fires every day to know this and to be confident in the tools that we're given, as long as they are spec'd out the correct way? Right.
No. You nailed.
True inch and 3/4 key hose. There you go, Joey. Combined with a Elkhart 7/8 tip, 15/16 if you're one of the Texas guys, whatever the case is, being confident in that thing that we're bringing to the door, and knowing that, hey, like Kurt says, to my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, to my knowledge, no one has died on the end of a working nozzle at this point. That's documented. Not burn through, just I'm working the nozzle and I'm overcome by the fire. So that should be something that, regardless of our experiences on this job and time on the job, have confidence in that thing. Know what you're flowing. It's critical. If you're a brand new firefighter, no one has to tell you that. Go figure it out, and then have confidence in whatever's in your hands to take care of business. So I think those couple things, have, I'm sure there's others that'll come to mind, but really don't put water on smoke. Man, I teach almost the opposite of that to some extent, because it depends on what you're facing. Depends the scenario, depends on the heat, all kinds of different things.
I love binaries. And, like you said, people love black and white. People love black. I love binaries. And one of my favorite things, and I tell it everywhere I go, Brian Brush says, you got smoke at the doorknob level, you should be flowing water. Now, is that,
yes.
I mean, I just love it, because it's a yes, no. It's something you can teach someone who's never been in anything, and is it always true? Probably not, if you really want to go actually, but man, is it a great binary for guiding people who've never felt heat or just been in training burns with a couple pallets? Absolutely.
100%. My brother, we have taught that at the city of Fort Walton Beach since almost the entirety of my career. And we called it the doorknob rule before it was a thing. It's kind of like when the whole transitional attack was a thing. Fort Walton, Escambia County, the general A50 area, we're looking at each other going, that's kind of what we've been doing. We didn't know it was a thing because it's normative for the lesser staffed departments to take advantage of an opportunity to do that if you have to put things in check until you can get through that front door. And so,
Beautiful.
There's so many opinions and stuff, but I try to default and surround myself with people a lot smarter than me that have done the job a lot more in close proximity and way outside of my bubble. And for this far in my career, it's worked. The doorknob thing, it validated itself because we learned it outside of our organization into the circuit world. And that's a well-known thing. Our saying was doorknob rule, you're either going to apply water or you're going to vent somewhere in proximity. But when you vent, you got to be ready to get in there and go after it.
I love it. Yes. Okay. A couple things. Everybody, if you have any issues with the stream on Facebook, remember, we are live on YouTube. If you're not aware, we are live on YouTube. Please go like and subscribe and click notify me when you go live. So all that being said, but yeah, we are watching all the chats. Kyle is watching all the chats. He's also responding to everybody in all the chats, which is awesome. So keep your questions coming. Next question coming at you from Joe Gavita. He says, and you may have to do a little background explanation, but what is a goal of yours with your new position?
So to give everyone a background, I have retired from the city of Fort Walton Beach after 22 years and took a tremendous opportunity in a place called South Walton Fire District. Here in the Panhandle, the South Walton Fire District encompasses the area called 30A. 30A is well known. It's a pretty bougie beach area that a lot of famous people have second and third homes at. It's just when you come to visit, the encouragement outside of Pensacola Beach, of course, is to come over and check out that stretch of beach because it is just phenomenal. It's a great area. So there was an opportunity to open to that department, and that department does not open opportunities often. And so when this came about, I said, man, I got to go for it, and well, sort of. I was a little hesitant talking to my wife. We both, are faithful Christians and like, we base our decisions a lot of times off prayer and that. And so
sure.
in light of that, it came down to this, what? Doors open and doors close. So why not take the opportunity? Long story short, I retired and I'm here. So that being said, I'm currently, as of week 3, this week, the training division chief for this department. It's about 108, I think it's around 108 man/woman department. It is 5 stations with a 6th in planning, 5 ambulances, 2 trucks, 3 engines, a special operations squad. So it's quite a bit more than what I came from. I came from a 2-station, 3 rig, true truck and engine house, interoperating with several other departments to a giant organization. In my mind, it's giant, probably not to a lot of people listening, but a much larger organization. So in light of that, there's a lot of plans. There's a lot of things I want to do. First and foremost is supporting what they have in place. The training division is relatively new for South Walton. And a good friend of mine, Lou Jones, who used to work at Midway as one of their battalion chiefs, left years ago to go to Tennessee, came back, went to Midway. He worked with my brother. He worked with Chief Kanzik, a bunch of friends. He ran the division and subsequently moved over into an operations role as a battalion. And that opened the opportunity for me. So I came in, all that to say, he did a tremendous job of building this program and putting in place from a committee style of training to training division chief and kind of bringing order to the organization. And I'm simply there for the first year to kind of support that and to continue to build the foundation. Like Lou has laid the vast majority. And we're coming into an organization that is young. The district was formed in about 83 and really ramped up in 99. And so in light of that, that comes with a lot of pros. The pros is I don't have a lot of history to overcome.
Right.
I have a very young, aggressive group of officers. I have a brand new turnover in chief staff that's ultra supportive of the expansion of the division, of training. And here's the big thing, Corley, bringing outside in.
Right.
Because I've spent my career of getting knowledge being outside in. And I just want to say this about outside in organizations. We have to be careful as firefighters in large, busy organizations of becoming what I call insulated.
Oh, yeah.
Insulated fire service is, man, this is the way we do it. We don't care about, here's a famous one. I don't care how they do it in FDNY.
Right.
Okay. No one's saying we need to do FDNY, but here's the fact of the matter. Most of what we do is from the FDNY. So in light of that, everything that we've learned at the city of Fort Walton Beach wasn't one-off ideas. It was a hodgepodge. There's a saying in the art world, nothing new under the sun. Every inspiration comes from something. So in light of that, I want to do at South Walton a form of that. You know, it's an outstanding training facility. We have a tower like no other. We have a Connex burn setup that's pretty great, even greater in another year or two when we go to revamp it. We are resource heavy. We're able to expand. And I plan on bringing, hopefully, a lot of that outside influence in selfishly, not only to our organization, but hopefully to the region. You know, Kurt has done a tremendous amount of good for the 850 area, all the way over to South Walton. But from South Walton to where he's at in Pensacola, that's a solid hour and a half, nearly 100 miles away. So I'm hoping to work with Kurt and a lot of other people in the future and bringing bright minds in. And Joe DeVito, you know, is doing a lot of great work with the thermal imaging stuff, right? And all that kind of stuff back in the day. And so, you know, I want to bring people like that in. I want to bring bright minds in. I don't know everything, and I know it. I don't claim to know it. But you know what? Neither did Einstein. You know what he said? You ain't got to know all the answers. You just need to know where to find them to be a genius, right?
Love it.
I'm trying to Einstein the fire service, man.
I'm telling you,
you know what I mean? Like,
it is one of the massive benefits of having these conversations week in and week out with people like you, like Romagus, like Isaacson, like Lombardo. And the really cool part is for me, I get to bring these people in. Like Romagus is coming in November to my department and giving everybody on my shift cruel intentions, talking about decision making on the nozzle. How cool is that? Like, that's amazing.
Can I say this for the record? The Romagus show that you did with him, was it a couple of years ago, a year or two ago, maybe?
Number 75?
Bro, like, yeah, I shared that on my shift, and dudes who just really didn't pay attention to that stuff, straight up blown away. It was such good rootsy nozzle stuff.
Oh, man.
That's coming from an experiential background. I put Kyle in this category called the Texas contingent from here. You know, Chief Davis and all those guys, Chief Gordon and Kyle and all these guys from Texas, man, there's such a wealth of knowledge. And that was one of the best episodes, for real. That's one of my top 5 that you've done.
Brother, I think it's my favorite episode. I'll probably go on record and say it is my, man, that's tough because for me, it's like pick a favorite kid. But it is the whiteboard episode, number 75, one of my favorite episodes of all time. And I wish that it was so early. I mean, 75 is relatively early. I mean, we're at 203, so it was a third of the way where we're at, but it didn't have the reach that it has now. So only certain people, unless you've gone back in time, you know, it doesn't have the reach.
You should do like a re-scrap or something.
Just re-release.
You know, like they play old episodes every so often or something like that.
Problem is that there's so many people I need to have on the scrap, like you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, seriously, how long has it taken for me to get you on? So,
bro, like, I shouldn't be here.
But I think that 75, if it would release now, would be just off the charts because there's so much more reach of the scrap now than 75 had. So anyway, that's behind the scenes. But no, absolutely, the whiteboard episode. The funny part is it was an accidental episode that we crammed in on a weekend. So
good, man.
It was awesome. No, 100%. I'm going to read a few comments. Haven't seen a live scrap in a while. It's from Michael Lataki. I haven't seen Michael Lataki in a while. I don't know if you're going to be in Pensacola this August or not, but I'll see you soon, I'm sure. Smoothbore Cartel Kyle, who we're talking about, said, couldn't think of a better dude to take over a training division, infiltrate and improve my brother. So there you go.
That's the plan.
I'm reading. Alan Glogowski said, unfortunately, my department is very insulated. It drives me nuts. Siloing happens everywhere, brother. It's something that we need to fight against, and it is a tough battle from within. Dennis Riley mentioned earlier, he has a slideshow going tonight. He did want to sponsor your scrap, and First Line Fire Training has a slideshow going, and there's a picture he wanted to reference. So make sure when you get a chance to go check out and see the pictures that are cycling, because he wanted to ask about it. Absolutely. Okay. And everybody, I released it today. So I want to mention this is I'm doing these things called the greatest bits, and it's really fun to make them, but it takes a lot of time of editing, and I'll work on this. I'll work on the sound levels. People have complained a little bit about the sound levels. All right. Working on it. But working on the sound levels of, but if you see a sound bite, or if you're watching a scrap or listening to a scrap and you hear a sound bite that's like the best of a greatest bit, email me, message me, let me know so that it can be put into them, because they're hard for me to find. There's 600 hours of scraps out there that I have to dig through. So anyway, that being said, all right, I'm going to throw one of your topics at you, and then I'll go back to the audience questions.
Okay.
Man, I'm trying to figure out which one I want to hit, because we kind of touched on some things. I'm going to go with the jack of all trades, master of none, the suburban fire problem.
Yes. I think every suburban firefighter knows exactly what that term means. And me and my brother have been kind of toying with this idea of really my brother talking about doing a class sort of addressing the suburban. When you divide the word up, it's suburban. And with that being said, depending on the suburban environment we're in, you're dealing with urban elements and not urban elements. So the problem with the suburban world is we are generally speaking a less is more situation, specifically in the panhandle. I'm lucky to be in a department currently that is relatively self-contained. For the most part, we can handle a first and second alarm on our own without any help. That is not common outside of probably Escambia County and maybe North Walton. To my knowledge, in our general area, everybody needs help and assistance. What that turns into is a world of quints, and we're no different. I've spent my entire life on a quint. I think you've done some time on quints. We all deal with quints. And joking aside about the quint life, that's just our reality.
Yes.
Because we got to be a Swiss Army knife, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
Out here. And I had the pleasure of working the last 3 years as a battalion with a true engine, what I would call in our area one of the very few fully staffed 4-and-4 true engine truck combos at downtown station in Fort Walton Beach. And so what I discovered was something I hadn't experienced before, was the absolute pleasure of watching two companies operate and how much gets done with two fully staffed companies on a working fire. It's crazy, or any other given call for that matter. All that being said, that's not the luxury of most. Most companies are 2 and 3 man, and they're showing up on a quint, and truck work is dependent on a sequence of arrival. And that's a massive, massive challenge in our business. And
not gonna lie, I wasn't ready to just relaunch the backup. Yeah, Sam, that was ass. That was it. He said it. Sorry, everybody. I don't even know what we were talking about. I'm going to try and patch this together later into a listenable. Yeah. Let's go. Yeah. James Michelisco has it covered. Okay. Where were we at, DJ? What were you were on a rant, and then I feel like you might have got cut off.
Man, it was really great. It's probably going to be one of those recordings that they set to a really cool video and like this inspiring message.
I feel like it was golden tidbits of powerful wisdom that no one else.
I forgot what it was. Next question.
Solid. Okay. I don't even know what I did with all my questions, trying to close windows and make stuff work.
It was a jack of all trades thing, man. And to be honest, like just to sort of summarize it, I think the point of the matter is in the suburban fire service, we got to be able to adjust our sails rapidly. And we got to be able to pick the proper strategy based on the staffing, based on the intel, based on the sequence of arrival, and based on our neighbors we're working with. And at the end of the day, what's worked for me in suburbia is taking information in and keeping it as simple as possible in my thought process. Odd enough, I'm not a fast processor, but I'm on a job that requires fast processing. So, working.
Possibly. Are we live on YouTube? Let me know, because may need a refresh. Kyle says we're live on Facebook, not on YouTube, but I'm getting comments from YouTube, so I don't know. Let us know, everybody. I count on yes, yep. Live on YouTube. Okay, we're good.
Cool.
Lots of interaction. Okay, thank you guys. Everybody, please bear with us. If you know the scrap, this is what we do. We power on. I want to throw this question at you. I don't know if I just interrupted you too bad.
Nope.
Jonathan Kanzig wants to know who is the better surfer?
I bet he does.
Who is the better surfer?
Of course.
DJ Stone or Chief Kanzig?
Okay, so Chief Kanzig is my brother's boss and a close friend of me and my brother we grew up with. And me, him, and Cameron, we surf every time there's swell. So, of course, in light of keeping my brother's job and him employed, Chief Kanzig is the best surfer on the Gulf Coast. He's the best amateur professional I've ever surfed with.
Right on.
To be honest.
On. That's brotherly love right there.
He rides an old man longboard like I've never seen an old man ride a longboard before. It was great.
There you go.
Funny. He now surfs when I have to go into my 40 hours. So that's how that works, because he's a chief.
That's how chiefs do it, right?
So, yes, very true.
Going back in time on an earlier question, Nate Schuler wanted to ask, what was your biggest hang up on Quick Mask, and what did you do to change or fix it?
Gloves. I can't say that I've overcame the gloves, but I know the path. And this is a lame excuse. I know it is, but it just wasn't as critical for me to nail that down on battalion as it was maybe when I was riding a truck. I know that's a terrible excuse. I'm just being honest in the trust tree right now, since there's only like 6 people back looking on the podcast again. So with that being said, the gloves were just the hugest hang up, man. If you could figure out putting it on with the gloves on, it reduces your time. No doubt. I've seen it with my own eyes, down to 10 seconds or less.
Right on. Andrew Begin said, damn it, YouTube, we talk good about you. No, that was just a crash. It was just a crash. It was straight up just a crash. It's going to happen. If you do enough live shows, it's going to happen. So there is nothing you can do about it. We've been very reliable, so we were due. We thought Kurt was going to bring.
Just glad it didn't happen on Chief Lombardo or Kurt or one of these big name dudes.
No, dude, you were crushing it when it happened. That's the part. That's the frustrating part. Leading the crews to bring that standard up is just as valuable as you doing the masking up, and that comes from Joel Richardson.
Yes, 100%. Joel is a veteran of Escambia County Fire Rescue, and their training safety chief over there, man, is outstanding fireman. He's absolutely right.
Love it. Okay, going back to your questions. The officer is the expert. This comes from Shannon's advice, and I wanted to hear what the whole hit me.
So no pressure, right? When I promoted up through the ranks, and you never feel this way. I still don't feel this way right now, but it's kind of like what Dennis sent. Dennis gave me this sign that says the comfort zone is where excellence goes to die, right? So Dennis Riley, first line, the first line training. So in light of that, I don't know that you ever become comfortable with that, but that was a challenge early on that my brother gave me, that when I promoted, he's like, well, congratulations. Now you're the expert and you're supposed to be the most senior person on the crew with all the answers. And I'll ask you, did you feel that way when you promoted up? And I don't care what organization you work in, there's that bit of intimidation on
Oh, absolutely.
what you don't know
Yeah,
and
the
what you're going to run
pressure to
into.
know it all. There's this pressure to know everything.
It is. And he wasn't saying I have to be the expert in everything, but it was more or less like this sort of rhetorical challenge, right? And even to this day, moving into my new position in a new organization, that's the challenge. The challenge is to be the expert. I can't be the expert. So if you can't be the expert, what is the next step to being an expert? In my opinion, the next step is I got to surround myself with people that are way smarter than me. And I got to use the strength of the team. So when I promoted, that's exactly what I did at Engine 7. And I had a rock star crew for, frankly, the call of my life. And how that, I think part of the ingredients to that success was having people that were really good at what they did. And they were good at where I was weak, and I was maybe strong where they were weak, and we complemented each other. I've always got to mention it. My driver was Bobby Anderson. He's now a battalion at Fort Walton Beach. And Scott Caskey, who is now a driver up for promotion at Fort Walton Beach, both still employed there, just outstanding firefighters. And I had another guy by the name of Brian Jackson, who, as luck would have it, right, Murphy's Law, we were riding 3 that night. He was a third guy off. But the point is, I recruited these people around me because I saw the strengths of that team. Right. And I go, man, I just don't have all those answers. But if I can assemble people and I can move the chess pieces to my favor, then I can win. But anyways, back to the whole, you got to be the expert thing. And the officer is the expert. The officer is supposed to be the most veteran man, woman of the crew. You're supposed to have the most years on. But you know what? It doesn't always pan out that way.
Right.
Especially right now in the fire service, almost globally. I could talk to friends in St. Louis. I could talk to friends in San Diego and Miami-Dade up to North Walton. Everyone's in this transition, retiring out, guys coming in, less experience coming in, more experience going out, And so how do we bridge that gap? Well, frankly, the only way outside of experience to bridge the gap is we got to get out there out of our box, and we have to train. And training takes on many different facets, as you well know. I mean, what you're doing right now is training. It's a form of training, isn't it?
Right.
We're taking it in, taking the information in. Yes, we're hearing opinions, we're vetting those opinions into our own context, and we're applying it. So the only way for me to bridge that gap over the years where I'm not maybe running the fires was to lean on mentors who have done more and continually attend things outside of my box. Yes. And then when I go to these events, I insert myself into these situations where I don't know the answer. Because I just had this speech at South Walton when I'm making my rounds the other day. I said, listen, here's what I want to do with the training center. I don't want the training center, when you come into my organization, when you come to the training center with me, like I'm there to judge everything you're doing and looking for failure. Right. Quite the opposite. I want it to be a friendlier, right? More loving, more accepting environment to fail. Because I would rather you fail at the tower with us there so we could fix that problem. And we could be like, hey, listen, man, all good, buddy. I've been doing it 22. You've been doing it too. It's cool. I've been there. Do this, do that. Hey, let's run the drill again. And when we produce that environment of allowable failure at the training ground, people actually learn. They're not afraid to go. They're excited to go. They're excited to be with people who know that they're going to help them improve and not dog them out for not knowing, to include the 15-year veteran on a truck that might be on an outlier that's went to 5 good working fires his whole career. Because that exists, right? That's suburban America. Well, let's not be afraid to fail on the training ground anymore. Because when we fail, we learn. When we learn from experiences and training in real life, we apply it to our next call and we get better at it. Therefore, we're slowly but surely pecking away at becoming an expert. Although I believe, just like seeking faith in your life, you're never going to fully know who God is.
Right.
We're never going to fully know every version of what firefighting is because it is so dynamic and we can't predict every emergency that's going to happen and how we're going to react and maybe the solutions we're going to bring to the table. But the solutions are strictly built on 2 things, in my opinion: the intake of training and experience and feeding yourself, which I'll talk about that later, and our experiences. I love that. That's the only way we're going to succeed. Outside of that, I mean, all due respect to degrees and books and
Right.
certifications. I mean,
No, I'm
if,
with
if
you.
you're not putting some good training and meat in there, it's just fluff, man. It's just paper.
And on something you said, James Michelisco in the comments said, I definitely should be logging my scrap hours into Target Solutions. And I absolutely think that's something everyone should lobby. Everyone should lobby for that.
I'm gonna take that to South Walton next week. Thank you very much. That's great.
Yes, absolutely. Watch 2 hours of the scrap. I watched an hour and a half of Mike Lombardo dropping truth bombs. Absolutely. That should count as training and it should go in.
Yes.
It's way better than most of the stuff we log. I promise you. Most of the stuff the administrative checkboxers log.
Yes. I got to figure out how to get that certified in Florida.
We do. We do.
So
no, absolutely. There's some good questions here. Hold on.
Okay.
What do you think of James Michelisco, also the guy who said Target Solutions? DJ, what was your go-to tactic of search? Split, oriented, etc.
Well, I'm going to quote a famous fire chief. His name is John Norman. And it depends. Joking aside, that's the truth, isn't it? Yeah. It really does depend. It's like you have concepts. We train on concepts, right? But whatever situation you're faced with, you default to something. So my pattern in life has been this. I'm going to answer the question indirectly. Something my brother also taught me, like you got to have back pocket as an officer, 3 different options. So it's option A, B, C, and then D is when you're leaning on the team. That's what I've always said.
Right.
So in light of that, same thing with a search. If it's a VES, it's not always get in, shut the door, do the search, throw the victim out by yourself, right? So same thing going into a house. It really does depend. The smoke conditions, whatever smoke conditions we're counting are at the front door. How rapidly can we search? What I learned years ago from the Cobb County guys at the Atlanta Fire Conference, which I feel like a dummy that it took me almost 10 years to learn this, was the fact that, hey, man, if you see it, it's searched. You ever heard that? If you see it, searched. If I could see across the room, do I have to go over there and go, fire department, anybody in here? No, you don't.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I like it. I like it.
I can't see behind the couch. We're going to target that search right there. That's the whole targeted search. So back to like the split search, it really depends. You get in the house, you have moderate smoke conditions. You see it's a pot on the stove. Sure, you could split people off. Or you have known intel on where someone's at. Yeah, there's all kinds of different varieties of ways. So I don't think I lean on one particular thing. I think I back pocket 3 different options for me. And that would be my encouragement to everyone listening, is kind of got to go at it in 3s. Whatever you do, try to figure out the thing in 3s. And at the end of the day, keep it simple down to like 3 steps or less, 3 thoughts or less to a conclusion. And when you hit a roadblock, stop. And like one of the previous fire chiefs, battalion chief he was my brother's mentor, and he was my first battalion chief coming on the job, David Messerschmidt. He said, you know what? Sometimes doing nothing is an option.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when you hit ABC and you hit a roadblock, maybe nothing is that option to regroup. So I got to answer that question with it depends. It really depends on what you face.
I love it, man. And you can't go wrong if you just say John Norman said.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a fail-safe. Daniel Austin coming at you, changing of gears here.
Yes.
Chief Stone,
yeah.
How do you balance your love for the job with your faith and family?
It's a good one. I put that up front, and I haven't been able to address it yet. Like Joey Hayes, we talked about this afternoon. It's the 3 Fs, right? I mean, we probably have heard that on this podcast. Mm-hmm. And the 3 Fs for me is a matter of priorities in life. And priorities are sometimes defined when we follow philosophies. I think sometimes that's just like a policy. It's produced out of something that went wrong a lot of times. Firefighters are a very passionate bunch. And I would say specifically the guys and girls that are listening to this, we're a different breed of people, right? The 1%ers, the 5%ers are listening to this stuff and reading and studying and attending. So in light of that, that's who I'm talking to right now. Because the other guys, no balance because they don't care about the job, right? Their balance is out of balance. So with that being said, I'll premise with what I'm saying is that I feel like the job for me is a calling higher than me. So I'll start off with that. That connects with my faith. It blows me away sometimes with other guys and girls in the job. Maybe they don't have a sense of faith, and whatever it is, they don't have that established foundation. For me, everything kind of looks back at that, right? Everything turns back to my faith. Before the job, that was there. It's like my wife. Well, not technically, because I started the job when we got married, but for a lot of us, our wives, our family were there maybe before we started the job, or vice versa. But at the end of the day, the things that are going to have longevity in this life on the planet and on the earth, in my opinion, are going to be your faith first and foremost. If you have it, it's going to extend into eternity, right? Secondarily, is this right here, these people right here, right behind me. This is I set this up specifically not to show off any kind of liquor. That's what wasn't my intent. Was my family right here, right? Me and my wife and my two girls, which, by the way, the Stone sisters, well, Stone and Ward now are both nurses in the public service world, which is really exciting. But all that to say, those things are eternal in a sense to me. So that's the balance. We put the priorities there. Faith sets your mind right. Family, it doesn't work out this way all the time. It always kind of trumps what the job is. So, and timing is everything. It's a really long answer to this, but I think it's multi-layered, multifaceted. And I really want to talk about this because I think there's a lot of people that have imbalance, and they'll admit, oh, there's imbalance, but they don't realize that it's actually more imbalanced than they think.
Right.
And here's what I mean by that. Timing is everything in this life and in this job. And so early on, my career, heavily involved in a union, training, doing stuff. I'm working 3 and 4 jobs. My wife wanted to be a stay-at-home professional mom. That's what we did. Hustling to support that. I have 2 little girls. Now I blink. I just married my oldest girl last week, 22 years old, to an amazing young man. Couldn't ask for better. She's married out. My youngest just got into nursing, about to age out and move out. And now I'm looking at who? My wife. Right. The one person that's going to be with me. And I've committed for life. She's going to be there. So all that to say, that has got to be a priority up front. If I could hit the redo button, and I did. You can ask guys like Kurt and my brother. I pulled back probably, I don't know, maybe 7 years ago, 5-7 years ago, way back, because I think those of us that are into teaching and that, there's an idea of fire fame. And, of course, that's a draw. You want to be a part of that. You want to teach, you enjoy it, you get exhilarated, you get a high reward from that. But at the end of the day, we have to prioritize our family first. We have to prioritize our faith first. And sometimes what that does, it gives you a span of time to create this thing called experience and a little bit of platform to maybe operate from. And a lot of times I see guys, young guys, man, they're driving so hard, man, and they love it. Well, guess what, man? You blink and now your girls are adults or your boys are adults and they're moving on. And when we retire, me, you, Corley, and a lot of these guys, girls watching right now, the job will move on. I'm experiencing that right now.
Yeah, tones keep dropping, the rigs keep rolling. Yeah.
Yes, I moved away from Fort Walton Beach. I haven't missed a beat. But you know what? That's a testament to maybe a legacy left behind, maybe a foundation laid or whatever the case. Point being, for me, the 3 F's, right? Faith, family, then the fire service. And the fire service has to be a third, and it has to be important because for most of us, it is a calling. And for all of us doing the job, it's that important. Mm-hmm. We have the one job, without being overly dramatic, that you make a mistake and it will kill you and it will kill others. And like I've been part of calls and decisions. I'm thinking of them right now as I speak, that, man, if I would have done it differently, that person might have lived. Do I let that beat me up? No, because I can't change it. Back here, can't change that. But I could work to, like what Kurt does with the number, Maurice's number and his legacy. That has driven that guy to do what he's doing right now.
Absolutely.
Out of a memory to honor, like, man, I could have, if I would have just done that one thing. So all that back to the final F of the fire service, that yes, it is that important to be into the job, but we have to be into the job in a certain way that's not alienating people around us, but it's bringing them with us. Because we get frustrated, we tend to alienate. So it's a delicate balance along this journey. And I think if you keep those priorities in check, you have a form of faith. You put your family first, and then just give it time. Your time will come, time will happen. The timing is everything. And gain that experience. I think then at that point, if you want the platform of Fire Famous and to get on the circuit and all that other thing, then cool, that's there for you. And you didn't sacrifice your time with your family. You included them. If you do go hard with a young family, bring them along with you. I learned this lesson recently in the last couple of years. It had gotten to the point where my wife isn't here, but if she was, I would interview her and ask her, the job maybe have alienated her a little bit. And it maybe alienated my girls a little bit because they saw that it took priority over them. So when we include our family into it, right? Maybe that changes the dynamic. Maybe that's the compromise. Maybe that's the bridge. Like you bring your wife into the fold. I think that's fantastic. That's really cool because now she's owning what you're owning and you're enjoying it together.
And we're very like you're staring down the barrel of empty nest. You know what I'm saying? My youngest is 22 now. He's our baby. He's on OKC Fire.
Yeah.
We are empty nesters. And right when we became empty nesters, that's where a lot of people struggle because my wife, especially, her entire life centered around those kids. That's almost to the detriment of our relationship. And she'll say that. So I'm not, you know what I'm saying? But it was all about the kids. Yeah. And when they leave, it's like me and her just kind of sitting across the table from each other going, saying, now what? And for us, it's been really cool because Firehouse Vigilance has kind of been that thing that we've kind of coalesced around. And so we're very unusual in that regard, but it's been fun. So
you say it's unusual, but that should be the usual.
No, I think I agree. I wish it could be because I love it. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I just encourage everyone in the audience, bring your family and your wife along. Bring them to the conferences. If you can afford to come to Pensacola Beach, let them play on the beach. Man, for years I've watched what Kurt has done to really promote this family atmosphere, and that is great, man. That's the fantastic way it should be.
Yes,
FDIC kind of the same thing, right? To an extent, there's the family element, and there should be a place in that.
All of
Fire
them
services,
all of them are shifting towards this inclusion of the family, the kids, the parents, all of them across the country. It's great. It's fantastic because you can plan a trip to Disney World and there's nothing wrong with those family trips, but you can also plan it to like a Pensacola Beach or Myrtle Beach or insert whatever beach. And man, the kids have fun. You have fun with the kids and you get to go to a fire conference.
No,
but
100% right. Yeah.
Who was there was somebody who said something. Oh yeah, it was this right here. This scrap. This is Zach Golembeski.
Yeah.
Zach Golembeski, his wife. I think his wife. Zach, if I'm selling you short that you made it, I'm sorry, but I believe his wife is the one that makes them.
That's cool.
Out of Kansas. I will 100%. Kyle said there's somebody else who needs one. So Zach might be watching, or he will probably watch or listen to the scrap. So anyway, I wanted to point that out. It's a beautiful, beautiful mug that I believe Zach's wife made. So the Mrs. Golembeski, and I hope I'm saying Golembeski right. So I'm sure someone can correct me.
Pull your wife, pull your family into it, man. The job is about family. Let them be a part of what you love so much in your passion.
Shifting again on you back to tactics. Follow-up question from James Michelisco. Did you prefer to search back from the fire or start at entry?
A little bit of both. I
was gonna say I was gonna go with it depends, but
no, it's true. I mean, it does depend, but I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, you tell me, Corley, because we kind of work in like organizations, the Suburban America context, and I think it's like as you search, you're scanning, right? And a lot of times, as we search, we're the first due engine company stretching a line and searching simultaneously.
Absolutely,
it's not uncommon for us, and so it's almost like the equivalent of the hitting a hard from the yard. That's an opportunistic thing. That's not an always thing. Right. So if the opportunity exists, so when we're stretching through a living room, making a right down the hallway, you're scanning that area. You may not be detailed scanning, but you're doing a see it search thing, right? And you're not targeting that because I've always been taught I need to get as closest to the fire and search back. That's just right, wrong, or indifferent. That's kind of been the pattern for us outside of a known location and targeting that search. If you know where someone is located and you have intel, that's where you start the search, right? So in a sense, it does depend. Are you first to a rival engine company? Are you committed to the search? Depending on the intel, all those things are factors, but it's a little bit of both, in my opinion.
There you go. There you go. Hey, beautiful answer. And like you said, like the mission is search, period. The whole reason we exist is search. The whole reason we exist is victims. Like you take victims out of the equation, we can honestly just do it with master streams. Like stop some property loss. You know what
There's
I mean?
a lot of opinion and debate in the business about that,
I don't think there's any logical debate about it, but
no, I would agree. I think if everyone has the citizen mindset, you're going to see a lot less civilian deaths. But what you're doing is getting the message out, right? What all of us that are connected to this movement are doing, or we're like messengers, like we're the gospel of the fire service, right? Like we're out here kind of trying to bring one or two people in. That's what I always say. It's sort of like church, right? Hey man, just bring a friend, bring a friend down to Pensacola, bring a friend up to Atlanta, bring a friend down to Orlando Fire Conference, or if you're out west, the stuff that they do. I mean, all the conferences are everywhere. Bring a friend, right? And let's try to convert people one person at a time. And then guess what? If you're one of the people watching this, here's my encouragement to you: promote, rise to the level of which you can make a global change. And you know what? There is something to be said about being well-versed in administration and in the street. When you get to the top of a heap in an organization, you may be administrative, but if you haven't forgot about the needs of the people on the street, you could be a Chief Thompson from the colony. He's one of the people I can think right now. He plays a very good balance on that.
Yes.
He does not forget about that. He fuels that thing, but he doesn't have to be in those trenches. He's very administrative and writes books, probably, frankly, in my opinion, as a Suburban guy, one of the best books on the market right now for small, medium-sized departments. And so he's a great balance of both. So I encourage everybody, work on promoting and really making global change. Bit by bit, the entire country will start being more intelligently aggressive, and not aggressive like cowboys, or et cetera, whatever people say.
Cowboys are awesome. Cowboys and pirates are both awesome.
My wife just arrived. I'm going to introduce her and embarrass her in a minute. But
okay, yeah. I like it. And the book he's referencing is The Functional Fire Company by Chief Scott Thompson. I'll say it's the greatest book for suburban fire departments, period. It's in the top 5 of all fire books, period, in my personal opinion. So I will say that 100%. And anybody who knows me knows I'm a huge fan of Chief Scott Thompson and the book. So, are we introducing the wife, or am I throwing questions at you?
She's putting stuff down, so she'll just cruise in whenever she's around here.
What's a good
no hurries?
What's a good piece of advice that you have received from a mentor? This comes from Marco Isone.
And this one probably kind of brushes up against another one that I've sent you. And this would be as of late, as a leader, as a boss. I would just say, like, the best piece of advice, 2 things. 1, listen more. Like, listen more than you speak. The old saying goes, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. So listen twice as much as you talk. As you rise up in the ranks, you need to be more of a listener, less of a talker. And the reality is, whether you want to believe it or not, people don't want to hear what you have to say.
Right.
The further you get up the chain within your organization, typically, not always. So I think that is a really valuable piece of advice. And then kind of like on the tail end of that would be the 2 second to respond to anything that may trigger you, or just in general. So there's something to be said about being stoic and quiet and listening, because you're gathering intel and information, and something to be said about a slow response. So it's like this, I mean, I have been tried over the years, continually, every day to now, and I fail routinely. And unfortunately, I fail probably more with my own family than I do with people on the job. But waiting 2 seconds to curtail a response to someone that, most of the time, the challenge is when someone says something stupid, or something that just pisses you off, or sarcastic, or condescending, right? So I think those 2 things: listen twice as much as you speak, and take time to respond are super valuable, because at the end of the day in the business, as you move up and you lead people and you get in charge, as much as you're a tactician, you need to be more so a counselor, more so a human relations expert, because we're dealing with the everyday life in the firehouse way more than you're dealing with any emergencies in the street. And I don't care where you work. I mean, you could work in Fort Lauderdale, the busiest firehouse in the country. You're still going to be dealing more so with human relations to an extent than actually running an emergency and making tactical decisions.
Love it. I love it. The guy who asked, Marco Arson, said max points, Chief. So you already got max points for one question.
Sweet. Right.
Head start. No doubt about it. I'm looking at the questions they're throwing at you. I also have the notes, but again, yeah, I don't know where I put them. So I'm going to keep going with the audience questions because they're good anyway. Yeah. Jared Nystrom wants to know, Nystrom, what are the main goals you hope to achieve with your new position at South Walton? What's your vision? And again, if you don't want to talk about specifics right yet and publicly, that's completely up to you. So I'll always give you that caveat because you're brand new to the position.
So here's the funny thing. I've made one shift of rounding and I do my next shift tomorrow. When it takes all day to get to all the stations. But I think in general, my intention is to continue to fuel the level of enthusiasm and excitement of just being a firefighter. I'm in a almost all hazard organization. They do everything but hazmat. So they have special operations. They're getting into water rescue stuff. They have a beach service. They have ambulance service. They got all this. I'm here specifically. I have the pleasure of having the direct responsibility of only fire training. Like, how lucky am I to do that?
Right.
I don't got to worry about the beach. I don't got to worry about special ops. They take care of themselves. I don't have to worry about anything but the fire service. So my intent is to pour fuel to those that are excited about it. Not everybody in every organization is pumped as we are, maybe about the job, but everybody that is, man, I got your candy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm here to fuel that. So I like to grow that enthusiasm. And then one of my global goals, and I'm pretty sure I've shared it with the Chiefs there as well, so I don't think I'm overstepping any boundaries, is I want South Walton to become a regional, like a center, kind of like what Kurt has done in Pensacola. You know, I want to bring that a little further east and not in any sort of competition with Kurt at all. Right. In fact, I've had discussions with him about the future of what I'm doing, and I want to be in partnership with him and all these other great minds that come through the area. And I want that organization to be a stopping point and a launching point for internal greatness and external greatness, if that makes sense. Like
absolutely.
Like a conduit, because we have the training center, technically speaking, and the resources to support such a focus, you know, and they're already on the right track and like doing a lot of really great things. So I'm there just to amplify it. And the short answer, without getting too detailed, is that's in my vision.
Right.
Are we going to get there? I don't know. I mean, I'm there for 10 years minimum. And as long as I'm enjoying the job, I'm not going to go home. And hopefully in the next 2 to 3 years, recruiting a cadre of people that are more passionate than me, who want to go even harder and just letting dogs loose, you know what I mean? And coordinating that. So that's what I'm excited about. And I like to see what happens in the next 3 years or so.
Love it. Love it. Kyle Romagus had a great description of it. You have to check it out sometime when you read the comments later. And Jared, thank you for a great question. Great question.
Yes, thank you.
That was a little vague. I'm trying to see Timothy Wood. Timothy, if you're still around, ask me, clarify your question. Do you think the job has changed? I want to hear what you mean in that regard. Adam Melkai wants to know, what are the best family-friendly conferences out there? Your opinion, I don't know if you're a conference aficionado or not, but.
I could say in the Southeast, yeah, probably.
Right.
I haven't been too far out of the Southeast. I mean, Corley, you could probably give a better global answer, but I could speak for the Southeast. I mean, hands down, what Kurt is doing with the conferences here, and not because he's a friend and not because I've helped over the years and I've been affiliated and I'm part of the team, but because I've seen what he's done to expand the boundaries. I think that is right up front, that one. For sure. I think next in line would be Orlando. It's a no-brainer. It's next to Universal Studios, man. I mean, and they're completely family friendly down there. And it's JJ and like Steve and all the guys that run that conference. It's the first one that I had ever been to. I went in '06 by myself before Kurt went, before my brother and any of them. I heard word on the street. And my brother was like, man, you need, why don't just go and check it out? That was the pivotal moment in my career. I took a right turn, man, and I haven't looked back since. So nice. I would be remiss not to say that about Orlando and how family friendly they are because of the location, the people running that conference. And then, Atlanta's always a good one. It's probably one of the more affordable.
When you say Atlanta, like you saying
hardcore. Yeah, Mapsy. Okay. I think it's great. Now, I know there's a ton more around, right. That are going on more so in the last 5 years than ever. And honestly, I think that's a good thing. I think that's great because not everyone can travel great distance to attend these things.
Right.
So the closer we are to share this gospel of fire, the better, right?
And especially the ones that include the family, because if you have your family at your back while you're doing this job, you can do this job for a very long time, man, and do it effectively.
That is so true, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. A couple I'll mention just to add to it. Carolina Fire Day. Someone mentioned it in the chat. Absolutely, they're very, very big. Heather and Joe, absolutely big on family. Dadgum down in Texas. I think family was more of the focus of Dadgum than even tactics was, and it was powerful. It was very, very.
That conference looks really cool, by the way.
Man, it is. It's a special.
I would love to go to that.
It was a very special. I was glad to be a part of it. I know I'm leaving some out. It's like anytime you start mentioning things and leaving stuff out. I don't mean to do that, but those two really do stick out in my head for family, just family centric.
I agree.
Yep, Oath Keepers. Kyle actually brings up OK. Every time I see OK, I think Oklahoma. So when they do Oath Keepers, I always think Oklahoma. Absolutely said Mile High. There's so many conferences.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Austin is asking, Chief Stone, if you could give one piece of advice to a young officer, what would you tell them?
Man, so many things. So I'm going to jump the gun on the book reading thing because I think that this is probably the best thing you could do in preparation. Next to like studying the job, right? So back to the human relations thing. The one thing I think I could recommend to anyone who's stepping in this position in the HR realm, dealing with the human element, is reading the book Emotional Intelligence 2.0. It's just a really good book on how to communicate. A lot of people, that's kind of like a buzzword now, emotional intelligence. It's been around for a long time. The reason it's a buzzword is because it works and it's extraordinarily important, especially to a group of people that live together. You're going to have more of a challenge, and you tell me, Corley, if I'm off base on this or not. You have more of a challenge dealing with the human element and motivation and focus than probably operations on the fire ground.
Oh yeah, I would say it's a 9-to-1 ratio, unless you live in Jobtown. I will put that caveat there. For the bulk of the American Fire Service, it's a 9-to-1 ratio of dealing with problems at the firehouse way more than you deal with problems on the fire ground.
Yes,
that's my
and even in places. Yes, and even places that go to a lot of fires, really it's pockets, isn't it? It's not like the whole organization is going to jobs.
They got the busy.
If you're lucky enough to bid the station,
busy house, the busy house. Yes.
So,
and all the rest of them are dealing with the 9-to-1 ratio of people problems.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I hate to harp on the human relations element, but I just see that that's such a gap in new officership, and frankly, there's some classes bubbling up about it. Like your 9Ls, like those are really great principles that are immediately applicable, and we need more of that. And we need more people like assigned to read that stuff. I mean, your book, frankly, would be a great one to assign new officers. Okay, before you get here, read this. This is your assignment. It's part of the curriculum. Emotional intelligence, I had assigned that to people before on my shift. Hey, listen, you need to read this. And then let's come back and talk about it.
Love it. Love it.
You're going to encounter that HR problem at some point.
No, it's awesome. Someone said, Daniel Austin said, emotional intelligence 2.0 is 57% off right now, boys. And I'm assuming he means on Amazon.
Yeah,
That's where
cheap.
everybody shops. But absolutely.
Yes.
Andrew Borges says, fireground operations is the easy part of being a leader. It's the other administrative stuff that is the hard part of being a leader. Yeah. Stephen, so many comments, lots of reactions. Man, I want to say, first of all, DJ, I apologize for the crash in the middle because we were rocking it. The audience was rocking it. The cool part is it recovered. We didn't get back to the numbers we were at, but it recovered.
That's okay.
And you're killing it. So I want to throw this to you before I segue out of topics, because there's a long list of topics, and we've hit some of them because of the audience questions and some of them not. But I want to throw it to you. Yeah. Anything specific you want to talk about before we segue into books and questions?
No, I think I'd leave people with this. Two things, three things maybe. So I don't know if I'm gonna get myself in trouble with this. Before I say this, Kurt is a personal mentor and friend, right? I mean, honestly, I am who I am. He's a great part of that. But I'll say there's a lot of talk about lanes and staying in lanes and getting out of lanes. And I totally get what he's talking about. And I think in some respect, though, in relation to that, I'm not going to say a lane. I'm just going to say an orbit. So as we move forward in the business, sometimes it's good for us to stay in an orbit because of this, or a lane, or however you want to describe it.
Okay.
Don't get tied around the axle about things you cannot change. You have no influence to change. For example, city council elections. I work for a city. You know, it sucks and it's good. It's an up and down. You can't change that. I can't change what another shift does before I come in. I can only change the fact that I'm putting air in my bottle now. I'm cleaning the blood off the glucometer. I'm setting my gear up right? So in light of that, and before we complain about the Chiefs and what they're doing, let's be concerned about us first. Let's take care of our lane. Let's take care of our orbit. Let's affect the things that we could change first, right? So that would be my encouragement. And secondarily, I can't overemphasize the value of mentorship. And mentorship comes in a lot of ways. And the beauty of the internet is this is form of mentorships. Whether it's you mentoring someone distantly, correlated with your book and your conferences, or it's someone in person, I think there's value in both. So you need to be a mentor and you need to be mentored by somebody. And you know this as well as I do. Some of these people that you think are far off in the fire service, they're really at your fingertips and emailing and reaching out.
Absolutely.
Not one of the perceivable legends or the guys that I've looked up to and I've had the pleasure of being in the orbit with have ever been like, man, I ain't got the time. Right. All of them just love the job. They love making people better for absolutely nothing because they're just those people. They're servants, right? And let me throw this little tidbit in there. There's no other leadership than servant leadership, in my opinion. Period. Servant leadership is the answer. You want to answer the leadership question. What kind of boss do you need to be? You be a servant leadership. Everything is about how you are serving the people you lead and the community that you lead. So how to get better at that is mentorship, man. We got to have these people that speak into our lives. And the most influential person in my life would be my brother on this job. You know, he has helped me avoid countless pitfalls. A lot of people I talk to, like, man, I went through this struggle and I was an officer like this, and then I crashed and did this. And I'm going, I really didn't struggle with that because I had my mentor, I had my brother, and many other people around me saying, do this, don't do that. I listened with 2 ears, I stayed quiet, and I followed advice, you know. So I think those things, in kind of closing this out, are extraordinarily important. You know, I know tactics and strategies and all these things are exhilarating topics, but I feel like what we're talking about tonight are nuts and bolts to success that aren't typically expounded upon because they're not flashy.
Right.
But it's absolutely critical to success. If you want to be a better leader, be a better servant, and die to yourself first.
Ooh, I love that last quote. Die to yourself first. I absolutely love it. Man, I did it. I was trying to timestamp. It's so hard to timestamp when we had to restart. But this is the deal. Yeah, you got another max points. I don't know if it's was Andrew. Did Andrew give him max points last time too, or was it someone else? But I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but I'm judging.
I'll take whatever points I can get, man.
Yeah. I love it. You already mentioned Emotional Intelligence 2.0, but I love books. Anybody who knows me knows I love books. I love asking the question, what book or books do you think firefighters should be reading?
The other one would be 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by Maxwell. Maxwell, hands down, I don't care who you talk to, he's probably one of the best. And so foundational books for leadership, I think those two, you can't go wrong. You just can't. There's a gazillion of, like right now as we speak, I'm listening to The Dichotomy of Leadership. It's taking me this long to get to it. Let me tell you, Jocko, man, like
the principles
I never
are solid,
listened to much of his stuff. Bro, it's so good. That's another good one. But 21 Laws and I think Emotional Intelligence are a really good start. They're quick reads, very useful information to immediately apply it to your career and the human relation element of being a leader and really just being a good person.
And on the subject of Maxwell, because I like to throw it out there every time, two of his books that I really love, Developing the Leader Within You, which is 21 Irrefutable Laws is his best, period. I think that.
Yeah.
And then Developing the Leader Within You is really good for company officer. And then he wrote one much later. He's wrote like 80 books. So, but leadership gold. What he wrote it after he wrote like 50 books. And it was like the distillation of all of them, all the first 50 in one. So it's a really good one. If you don't
Leadership Gold, I'm going to write that down because I haven't even heard of that.
No, it's one of he wrote it after he'd written like 50 books. So it's all the other ones kind of melted into one. And
so you got 49 more books to write, man. So you're one down.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't think anybody can match Maxwell. Yeah, dude. I love him. I love him. He's one of my biggest influences. Him and Simon Sinek. Anyway, I keep rattling off authors. Without a doubt. Yes. Okay. So we have a thing. You already answered so many questions. You've already gotten max points. That's kind of an unusual thing. But we'll see how it goes. It's called the 5 Questions for Firefighters. Originally, it was the 5 Questions for Firefighters. After 100 episodes or so, I had to switch it up, and it became the next 5 Questions for Firefighters. And then only a few episodes ago, we made it the 5Q3, the 5 Questions for Firefighters version 3.0. So there are no correct answers. They are all your opinions. But my question for you is, are you ready for the 5Q3?
Shoot. Ready. Let's do it.
Coming at you. What single... Wait. No, that's not the right questions. Hold on. I was about to ask you 2.0.
Oh, well, let's answer all the .0s, man.
We'll just do 10 questions for DJ Stone. 2 seconds. I'm getting there. I promise you.
Yeah.
I promise you I'm getting there. No pressure, Corley. All right, here we go. This is much better. What is the skill that has carried you through your fire service career?
I would say for me, adaptation. So here's what I mean about adaptation. Adaptation to circumstance. In other words, willing to make a change and willing to make corrections when needed. And then furthermore, learning from the mistakes of others so you don't make them. If you can adapt early on in your career, that skill set crosses boundaries from human relations to fireground skill sets. Especially as a suburban firefighter, you have to adapt and overcome. Because one minute you're an engine, one minute you're a truck, another minute you're giving medical aid. You just never know. Sequence of arrival based response model is the majority of America. And so in relation to that, the earlier you learn to adapt, the better you are going to be in longevity of maybe even becoming better in your career. And then the mentors that you have around you going, hey man, do this, don't do that. And if you could actually follow that advice, you're going to avoid a lot of trouble in your career.
Dude, I love it. I absolutely love it. Again, is the first one from YouTube. He said max points, and I agree. It's an adaptation. It's beautiful. In fact, it's what Adapt and Overcome again said it, and it's kind of what I originally dubbed the title of the scrap. And when I read all the topics was about adapting everything. Joe Mitchell agreed. Max points.
Yes.
So there you go. And I want to just for the behind the scenes, I make really detailed notes every time there's a scrap coming up. And Alan Golgoffy said, no doubt max points. But the thing is I'll take an old one and I'll copy it, and then I'll delete everything that had to do with the last guest, and I'll plug in everything from the new guest, copy paste out of the emails. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so the reason I was about to ask, we just switched, and so I actually copied Clark Lampings over to be number 199, and I deleted everything about Clark, and I pasted in everything DJ except for the 5 questions. So anyway, there's the behind the scenes. Good job on max points. Good job on behind the scenes. So then I pulled up Mike Lombardo's notes, and I said, what is the most important? We kind of touched on this, so I'll be interested to see your answer. Most important soft skill to possess in a leadership position.
I already talked about it, man. 2 ears, 1 mouth. I mean, I don't even think I need to expound on that. I can't overemphasize listening more. And it's not a trick. It's the truth. The more you listen, the more intel you gather in every level, right? Specifically speaking to human relations. And then you could also say tactical and otherwise. You have to be willing to listen twice as much as you're saying something.
No, I wouldn't even look at the chat. It's max points because, dude, it is, like you said, it's like a trick. It's like a life hack. If you listen, man, you will be a more effective person, especially if you are responsible for people, man. 1,000% max points. I'll see what people said. No doubt max points. There you go.
I'm working on that too. Like I'm still working on the listening bit. I haven't perfected it.
Absolutely.
Because I like to talk, man. Like anybody else, I like to talk. I like to share my opinions. But I've learned to read people, and I could see them too now. Like I can tell when people they're glossing over, right? A little bit cross-eyed. Okay, try to learn to talk in sound bites, man, and just listen to people more. People want people to listen to them most of the time, especially my wife, and so and my girls.
Right?
Learn to listen more.
They want to be heard. They want to know that they're valid. Yes, they want to be validated. Absolutely. The number one way you can validate another person is to hear the words that they are saying. Man, so strong. Easy max points. Number 3. What is your favorite fire service tradition?
Well, first off, I could say solid bore nozzles, leather helmets, and red trucks. But kidding aside, because that is sort of kidding, sort of not. I think the sense of service and honor to be able to do a job that I'm assuming is like 1% of the population gets to do. That's a pretty big honor. Not only being able to get it, but I get paid to do it. Like we tend to forget that over time, So that tradition of service and the status it gives you in a community, I don't do it for the status, but you know what? I'm super grateful that people are glad to see me when I arrive to help them. My law enforcement brothers, I don't know how they do it. I just don't. Like, I don't know that I could live and work in an environment where the population is frustrated towards me. So that keeps me grateful for this position that we have and the goodwill that is automated because of our job into the community. We're automatically assumed to be the good guys. That is really great. And that directly ties into the tradition of service since the beginning. And I remind people at my old job, and at some point in the new job, I'll say this again. We signed up to be public servants. That's what we are. That's first. Before we're firemen, firewomen, firefighters, we're public servants, period.
Right on.
And so we should be proud of that. That's a long-standing history since the dawn of time. And I think that resonates in me as something to be proud of.
Love it. Timothy Wood said max points. James Michelisco said max points 100. Screw automatic fog nozzles and Euro helmets. So he gave you max points.
I'm saying.
Got to your answer. True statement. No, I wrote down this: max points on helmets, nozzles, and red trucks. And then you answered it with an absolutely crushing max.
There is nothing more American than the leather fire helmet. I'm sorry if you don't agree with that, but like that to me, as far as just a visual tradition, along with the color red, is like right. When you think fire service, that's what you think. I pray to God in the rest of my career that we never go away from the traditional fire helmet. I don't care how irrelevant the design is and how unergonomic it doesn't matter to me. I don't ever want to see us go away from that.
Dude, you're talking my language because you mispronounced. Yeah. I don't care if you are wrong. If you are wrong, that's what you meant to say.
Yes, okay. Yes. That's right.
I love it. Okay, brother. Number 4, 3 for 3, max points, easy max points. I don't know if you studied for this test or not, but you're killing it. Yeah. Number 4, who are the 4 people you would put on the Mount Rushmore of the fire service?
This one's tough, man. Ooh. You know, and I had to think about it on people who have probably impacted my career and my direction and investment into where I'm at, you know? And so, in light of that, the people that came to mind in considering it was, of course, you know, it's my brother, like it's my blood, right? He's been the foremost influence on my life, in my career. And next to that, I would be remiss not to say Kurt Isaacson. You know, a lot of the guys that listen to this podcast are fans of Kurt. You know, Kurt is a friend. I knew him before I started. And I think we can all agree that people are listening to this podcast that a guy from Pensacola, Florida has made a major impact into this business. And I'd be remiss to say it hasn't impacted me. His enthusiasm and his craziness, as crazy as Kurt is sometimes, you know, the good and whatever, you know, what I like about Kurt is like, it's what you see is what you get. He's very much the same person on your podcast as he has in real life. And that is a unique thing in people and humans these days, especially in the social media world. But anyways, he is, I would be remiss not to say the type of impact that he's had on me as a friend and as a mentor and someone who challenges me. And I would say Brunacini is another one. Blue card aside, or whatever people think about all that stuff, right, that has been traced back to him. I still use the be nice mantra every day as a human and as a boss. Be nice. I mean, if you think about it, in the 90s, that guy really impacted the business in a big way. Doubt. With the customer service.
Yes, the cartoon
and
book.
So hugely important. Yes. I think he's impacted my sort of perception and my attitude towards a job. And then finally, another person that I think is one of the most underrated people. And the crazy thing is I've met this guy once or twice, but I've gleaned so much for what he has input into the internet world as far as learning for absolutely nothing for free. It's been a crazy service. Is Jason Hovelman, Chief Hovelman, with his officer development and the stuff that he has done in the business. He, in my opinion, is probably one of the most underrated contributors to the fire service. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, because I know he has a huge platform.
No,
and
absolutely.
He does a lot of things, but people should be talking about more of what he's poured into officer development, at least from my perspective, more than most that I could recall. I have gleaned a ton off of his wisdom and the input that he's put in the business. So it's a really tough question to answer, and there's a gazillion other people. But I think those 4, when I was thinking about it today, they've really impacted the direction of my career, and I'm super grateful for it.
I love the answers. I love the answer. I love all 4. I love all 4 and the impact they've had in my life. And shameless plug, August 27th, Jason Hovelman will be coming back to the scrap to talk about it. And, you know, no exceptions leadership and officer development, the new company officer, all of it, 100%. So, but I love your answer. Yeah. Easy max points. I'll see what the audience said. Yeah. Jeff Stone said max points. Bruno for sure. Be nice. And Mrs. Smith. There you go. Uh, Jeff Diaz said my fire service Rushmore would look like Medusa's hair. I couldn't narrow it down to 4. No, it's a tough one, man.
True.
It's a tough
That
one.
is tough.
You almost feel like you're disservicing people when you know you're gonna be like, oh wait, I bet. Oh yeah, no, it's tough,
man. Listen, it's a laundry list of people of locals that there's people's names that will never be. And here's the thing. Maybe back to mentorship. There's so many more people close in your orbit that are going to impact you almost overwhelmingly more than the people that are in the fire fame lane circuit line of things. Right? If you're lucky enough to be one of us who affiliate a lot, we glean a lot from it. But most people learn the most of what and the most value they get out of the job and who they are from the people they're working with in their own organization. So that's another thing I encourage everybody to do at the end of the night tonight, end of our conversation. Think about what are you doing for your organization first. Before you want to go out and teach this stuff, and you want to be a part of something and create a presence on the internet world, what are you doing internally in your own department? That was a challenge from Ray McCormick back in the day to me. It's like, great, one of the biggest accomplishments, if I remember the story correctly, was his input into the FDNY and different sectors of that operation, because it was such a big deal to him because of his affiliation with his department. And I said, you know what? That's right. What am I doing for my department first?
Right on.
So all that to point back to these people that are super important around us, to pay homage to them and respect to these guys that have poured into us.
I love it. I love it. I've been looking forward to asking you this question, which is the question. It's the 5th question. It is the heavy fire. If you're coming out with that helmet cam on and there's heavy fire and there's searchable space, what would you rather be assigned to the nozzle or first in on VES?
So people aren't going to like my answer. I'm just going to say it.
I love the qualifications. Answer. I love it.
I love engine work, man. I don't know about you, but there's nothing like bringing something out of control back into the control. It's an overwhelming sense of accomplishment. And there's nothing like helping a life too, but I like engine work, man. I love the thought of bulldozing through a door of fire and putting it out and bringing it under control. I've been very lucky to be a part of at least one successful rescue. The other ones, not so much. And there's no high like it. But what brings me back to the table is putting the fire out every time, man. I love that element of the job.
And that's why I love that question, because there is no right answer. I keep seeing a phantom arm.
That's all I'm trying to get her over here to say hello. Look, I will at the tail end. Come here, babe. So I would be remiss. We're talking about family, right? And we're talking about people. And this is my wife, Stephanie. You can bend down. Hey.
Hi.
She's kept me on track, and as our kids age out, she's the one that's going to be here, and that has guided me into my new endeavor in my career, and that joins me along the way. So I'd be remiss not to recognize the importance of my wife and her presence here and her support, really.
That's awesome.
So anyways, this is Stephanie. She's the
I don't know if she can hear me because you have earbuds in, but tell her thank you for sharing us for this evening.
You got earbuds in.
She can hear you because I'm deaf and I got it like volume all the way up. So.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you. But absolutely, welcome to the scrap. McGinn said. All right, engine life. James Bujalisco said 99.99 points. And that's the beautiful thing. No, I give it max. I give it max because I love the passion of the answer, no matter who gives it. I love the passion of the answer. The reason behind it, there is no correct answer. I know mine. Everybody knows theirs. And absolutely, brother. Absolutely. I love. You just crushed the 5 questions for firefighters with 5 for 5 max points and a couple extra max points arbitrarily passed out by the audience early on. And that officially makes it 203 scraps in the books with a small glitch in the middle. I want to say this to the audience that's still here. Just like going to a fire, you never know what you're going to get. I think that's part of the allure of the scrap. You never know if it's just going to be a flaming inferno.
We had a little post.
just a small hiccup. But hey, I'm telling you, man, mutts don't scrap, and they hung out and they asked killer questions. They listened to killer answers. So with all that being said, officially 203 scraps of the book. If people want to get a hold of you, what is the best way to do so?
Probably through the 850 Fireman on Facebook Avenue. I am on Facebook. I'm re-engaging with my new job because it's such a valuable platform. But that would be the biggest conduit. I run it with my brother. We both kind of contribute to that thing. 850 Fireman on Facebook. Or for me, my main conduit of social media consumption is through Twitter, or X, or whatever he's calling it right now. But I find for me that platform has a little less drama, a bit more data. And so I am active on that one, 850 Fireman there as well, DJ Stone. You can find me. Or, email, obviously, 850 Fireman at Gmail, or dstone@swfd.org at my new work address. I'm an open book. That's right. Everything I got is yours, and vice versa. So,
and the Grab Analysis. I kept saying Grab Academy earlier. I'm sorry. Grab Analysis. The Grab Analysis. Yes. So please forgive me.
And I am presenting that at the Suburban Urban Fire Conference coming up in August.
Coming up in a month.
Kurt's thing. Yes.
I will see you there.
In the solo version. Yeah, right on. Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
You give me your input on it when you see it. See if
I will absolutely. I will absolutely. It will not suck. But there you go. Everybody, man. Go to firehousevigilance.com. Join the Vigilantes. If you want to be a part of the Cool Kids Club, I'll say it every time. It's $5 a month. It's the price of a cup of coffee. We do really cool stuff. You get discounts. You get exclusive swag. You get the input on what is going on. You get the behind the scenes, blah, blah, blah. All of that stuff. It's awesome. Believe me, the people that are in it know. That's just another bonus. The other part is right when the scrap ends, all the Vigilantes get to meet up, and we get to critique and tell DJ that he did a really awesome job. So it's really fun. But badass scraps continue. Next week, Charlie Dahl, then Jeremy Sanders, a Crew First Culture, and then one of the smartest firefighters I know. And that's saying something because I know Dennis Laguerre, but one of the smartest firefighters I know, Eric Sailors, is coming on. And with the new stuff he's doing on active shooters and the takeaways from the studies, man, it's going to be a good one. My brother, DJ Stone, thank you for being such a phenomenal and patient and adaptive. I think that was a quality. Adaptive guest.
Thanks for having on a Suburban nobody. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I won't even address it. Vigilantes, if you are going to be a part of the after party, the scrap after party, look for the link in the private group. I will send it out as soon as we close out. So look for it. DJ, as the guest, you are absolutely invited to come hang out for 20 minutes after the scrap is over and be subjected to the Vigilantes telling you how awesome you were. Other than that, audience, man, I say this every time, and I know you guys have heard it 202 times. You are what makes the scrap magical. When it crashes, you come back and you keep it being magical. I can't say thank you enough, man. Thank you for tuning in live. I love you all. Remember, mutts don't scrap. I hope the tones stay silent unless it is burning. Everybody, stay safe out there.